Picture this moment, it's 7:42 a.m. on October 15th, 2024. Barrett Stone walks into conference room B on the second floor of Ironworks Steel Manufacturing, and there's Ivy Walsh, the McKinsey consultant who's been here all of 7 weeks, sitting at the head of the table in a navy blazer with Sage Martinez from HR right beside her. That manila folder is already open on the table. Barrett knows immediately what's about to happen. But what Ivy doesn't know is that Barrett has been carrying a signed union contract in his toolbox for 18 years. A contract that's about to turn this entire conversation upside down. My name is Barrett Stone. I'm 56 years old and I've been at Ironworks Steel Manufacturing in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for 23 years. Let me back up and tell you the whole story because the context makes this so much better. I got to the plant at 6:15 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, October 15th, 2024. I remember because it was right after the Columbus Day weekend and the parking lot was emptier than usual. Just the night shift supervisor's pickup and a silver BMW I'd never seen before. Strange, but I didn't think much of it. I badged in, took the stairs up to the second floor, walked past the empty offices to my desk. Not a corner office or anything fancy, just the spot where I'd been sitting since March 2001. Set down my thermos, opened my laptop, and there it was. One calendar invite marked urgent scheduled for 7:45 a.m., subject line optimization meeting. Attendance required. I just stared at that screen for a second because you know what that means, right? Nobody sends you a meeting invite with that kind of language unless something's about to change and not in a good way. I clicked on it. Attendees. Me, Ivy Walsh, our new efficiency consultant, and Sage Martinez from HR. My chest tightened a little. Not panic, more like that feeling when you know the conversation is going to be unpleasant, but you don't know how unpleasant yet. Let me give you some background about who I was at this company because it matters. I started in 2001 as a furnace operations technician. That was my official title. Level 3 on the plant ladder. My job description, if you actually looked at the document HR had on file, said I was responsible for scheduled equipment maintenance, safety compliance documentation, and technical support. Pretty standard stuff. Starting salary was $52,000. By October 2024, I was making $89,000 base plus overtime. That usually brought it up to around $102,000. Not bad for a guy who started out with a Vietnam discharge certificate and an associate degree from Community College of Allegheny County. Vietnam taught me something important about systems. When I was stationed near Da Nang, I worked on helicopter maintenance. Hueys mostly, some Chinooks. The old-timers used to say, you don't just fix the symptoms, Stone. You understand the whole machine. That lesson stuck with me through everything that came after. When you're working on a chopper that's going to carry 8 guys into a hot zone, you don't cut corners. You don't assume anything. You check every bolt, every wire, every fluid level, because one loose connection means people die. But here's the thing, my actual job and my job description hadn't matched in about 15 years. See, when you work somewhere for over 2 decades, especially in steel manufacturing, you end up absorbing responsibilities that nobody else wants to do or knows how to do. It starts small. You fix one piece of equipment outside your lane because it's blocking production. Then someone asks you to fix it again. Then it becomes your thing, and before you know it, you are the only person in the building who knows how half the machinery actually works. I was that person. Let me give you some examples. The company's entire furnace temperature optimization system was something I'd built in 2014 because our old process was reactive and cost us about $280,000 a year in wasted fuel and unplanned shutdowns. I automated the whole thing using thermal monitoring, pressure analysis, and gas mixture schedules. We went from 52 unplanned shutdowns per year to 11. Nobody asked me to do it, I just did it. Saved the company probably $220,000 annually in avoided downtime costs. That's not me bragging, that's math. Equipment downtime on our steel production lines costs us about $18,000 per hour in lost production. Multiply that by the shutdowns we prevented and you get the picture. Then there was the OSHA safety documentation. We manufacture heavy steel components, which means everything has to be documented for safety inspection. The company had this patchwork system where different departments used different software and nothing talked to anything else. So in 2017, I built a unified tracking system that connected our blast furnaces, the rolling mills, and the quality control stations. Real-time documentation, automatic safety reports, the whole thing. Our OSHA inspection prep time dropped from 4 weeks to 6 days. I didn't get a bonus for that. I got a thank you in a team meeting. Oh, and the supplier relationships. Somehow, and I don't even remember how this started, I became the point of contact for every single one of our steel suppliers. Bethlehem Steel Remnants, Nucor, ArcelorMittal. If something went wrong, I was the one with direct lines to their field engineers. I had their cell phone numbers. They had mine. These weren't just business relationships. When Rodriguez from ArcelorMittal's service team came to Pittsburgh, he'd stop by the plant just to say hello. When our Nucor representative retired, he made sure his replacement knew to call me directly for any technical issues. I negotiated our Nucor contract in 2022 and saved the company $95,000 over 3 years by bundling steel deliveries with quality testing. Did it on my own initiative during my lunch break because I knew we were getting overcharged, but none of this was in my job description officially. I was still a furnace operations technician. The thing is, I never asked for a promotion or a title change. I should have, but I liked the work. I liked knowing how everything fit together. I liked being the person people came to when something critical broke. Plus, I got decent raises every year, 3% to 5%. And my boss, the old plant supervisor, a guy named Jasper Turner, appreciated what I did. He'd tell me in reviews, "Barrett, you're the backbone of this operation." He knew. He got it. Jasper had started at Ironworks back in 1989, worked his way up from the floor. He understood steel manufacturing, understood that knowledge doesn't come from textbooks. It comes from years of watching furnaces, listening to them, knowing when something sounds wrong, even when all the gauges look normal. When you hear that slight pitch change in the burner system, or feel the vibration in the floor shift just half a degree, you know trouble's coming hours before any computer system catches it. Jasper retired in August 2024. And that's when Ironworks hired McKinsey to optimize operations. Ivy Walsh was 29 years old, 27 years younger than me. And she came from consulting. Had the resume, the pedigree, all that. MBA from Northwestern. Talked a lot about operational efficiency and role clarity and eliminating waste. In her first plant meeting, she said, and I remember this exactly, "We're going to implement lean manufacturing principles. Everyone needs to stay in their lane so we can scale efficiently." I didn't think much of it at the time. New consultants always say stuff like that. But then she started asking questions. Lots of questions. Who owns the temperature optimization system? Who manages supplier relationships? Who built the safety tracking? And every time the answer that came back was Barrett Stone. And I could see it in her face during meetings, this kind of confusion. Like she didn't understand why one person had his hands in so many things. To her, it probably looked messy, inefficient. But what she didn't understand was that steel manufacturing isn't like consulting. You can't just draw clean lines on an org chart and expect the machines to respect those boundaries. The furnaces talk to the rolling mills. The mills feed the finishing equipment. The finishing output goes to quality control, and quality control data feeds back into the temperature optimization system. It's all one big loop. And if you don't understand how the whole loop works, you can't optimize any piece of it. I tried to explain this to Ivy a few times. She'd nod politely and say something about cross-functional dependencies and process documentation, but I could tell she thought I was just being territorial, like I was some old-timer who didn't want to let go of his little empire. So October 15th, 7 to 45 a.m., conference room B. I walked in and Ivy was already there, sitting at the head of the table in that navy blazer. And Sage from HR was next to her with a laptop and that manila folder. They both smiled when I came in, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "Barrett, thanks for coming," Ivy said. "Have a seat." I sat down across from them, set my thermos on the table. "What's this about?" Sage opened the folder and slid a document across to me. "We're doing a comprehensive role audit across the plant," she said, "making sure everyone's responsibilities align with their job descriptions and pay grades." I looked at the document. It was my job description, the one from 2001, the one that said scheduled equipment maintenance, safety compliance documentation, technical support. Ivy leaned forward. "Barrett, you've been here a long time. You're clearly a valuable member of the team. But as we've been reviewing how work is distributed, we've noticed that you've taken on a lot of responsibilities that fall outside your role. The temperature optimization system, supplier management, safety tracking, Those should really be owned by engineering or escalated to management. I just stared at her. I built those systems, I understand, she said, and that's appreciated. But going forward, we need you to focus on your core responsibilities. The things in your job description. We're bringing in a systems engineer next month. His name's Felix Rivers, and he'll be taking over ownership of the temperature optimization and safety systems. Supplier relationships will roll up to me. You'll transition everything over the next 4 weeks. I felt this weird calm settle over me. Not anger, not panic, just clarity. The same feeling I used to get in Vietnam when a chopper broke down and everyone was running around panicking, but I could see exactly what needed to be done. Like when the hydraulic system failed on a Huey and the pilot was screaming about emergency landing. But I knew we had maybe 20 minutes if I could reroute the backup pressure line. That same cold, clear thinking. So, you want me to stop doing the things I've been doing for 15 years. We want you to focus on what you were hired to do, Ivy said. She smiled again. Stick to your job description. You'll still have plenty to do. Equipment maintenance, safety, documentation, technical support. That's important work. Sage nodded. This isn't a demotion or anything like that. Your title and salary stay the same. We're just realigning responsibilities. I looked at both of them for a long moment. Then I said, okay. Ivy blinked. Okay, yeah. I said, if you want me to stick to my job description, I'll stick to my job description. Great, Sage said. She looked relieved. We'll set up a transition plan with Felix once he starts. I stood up, grabbed my thermos, and walked out. Here's what they didn't know. What nobody except Jasper Turner knew because he was the one who'd helped me set it up. Back in 2019, when I'd built the temperature optimization system and the safety tracking and basically kept the plant running through 3 different equipment crises, Jasper had gone to the ownership family and said, we need to protect our investment in Barrett's work. If he leaves, we're in trouble. Jasper had seen this kind of thing before. He'd watched good people get pushed out by new management who didn't understand what they actually did. He'd also seen companies lose millions of dollars worth of institutional knowledge when a key person walked out the door. So, the Pierce family approved something called a Key Technical Personnel Agreement. It was part of my union contract but filed separately. A side letter signed by me, Jasper, and Nova Pierce, who represented the family ownership. The agreement said that if I left the company or was reassigned away from systems I developed, I retained technical ownership of all proprietary modifications, systems, and documentation created outside standard job duties, specifically the temperature optimization algorithms, the safety tracking system, and the custom equipment modifications I'd made to our German steel processing equipment. The company had a license to use them, but I owned the intellectual property. And here's the important part. If the company wanted to transfer ownership of those systems to another employee, they had to get my written consent. And if I didn't give consent, the company had to either negotiate fair compensation or stop using them entirely. Jasper had buried this in the union grievance files. It wasn't in my personnel record. It wasn't in the standard contract files. It was tucked away with shop steward documentation from 2019 filed under technical risk mitigation. When Jasper retired, he'd pulled me aside on his last day and given me a copy. Keep this safe, Barrett, he said. You might need it someday. Companies forget that people matter more than processes. I'd stuck it in my toolbox and honestly forgotten about it until October 15th, 2024, 7:45 a.m. When Ivy Walsh told me to stick to my job description, I went back to my desk, opened my email, and I did exactly what Ivy asked. I stopped doing everything that wasn't in my job description. The temperature optimization system, not my problem. Felix Rivers would own it when he started in 3 weeks. Until then, well, it wasn't in my job description to maintain it. The safety tracking, same thing. Supplier relationships, those rolled up to Ivy now. ArcelorMittal issues. Talk to Ivy. Nucor maintenance schedules, Ivy. Bethlehem programming modifications, not in my job description. I reset my work priorities to equipment maintenance, safety documentation, and technical support. Basic stuff, the kind of work you could find in any maintenance manual. And I waited. Now, here's something important about steel manufacturing that Ivy didn't understand. When you stop doing predictive maintenance, things don't break immediately. Furnaces are designed with safety margins. Burner systems that should be recalibrated every 800 hours might actually run for 1,000 hours before they start running inefficient. Pressure regulators that need to be adjusted every 6 months might make it 8 months, but they will fail, and when they do, it won't be convenient. It took 4 days. On Friday, October 18th, at 10:23 a.m., one of our floor supervisors, a guy named Mason Clark, came over to my desk. Mason had been at Ironworks almost as long as me, started as a mill operator, and worked his way up. Good guy, understood the equipment, and more importantly, he understood people. "Hey Barrett, furnace number 2 is throwing a temperature warning. Can you take a look?" "Sure," I said. I walked over to furnace 2, looked at the control panel, and checked the error code. Thermal regulation 18 degrees above optimal. Normally, I'd run my temperature optimization algorithm, check the pressure analysis from the last 30 days, cross-reference with the gas mixture logs, and determine if we needed to adjust the burner settings or if it was just a cooling system issue. The whole process took about 15 minutes and would tell me whether we had hours, days, or weeks before a failure. Instead, I called the equipment manufacturer. "Yeah, we've got a temperature warning," I told them. "What's your standard recommendation?" "Shut down the furnace and schedule field service," they said. "Could be thermal regulation failure. We can have someone out there Tuesday." "Okay," I said. I hung up and filled out a work order to shut down furnace 2. Mason looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "Barrett, furnace 2 is scheduled to run the Henderson Steel order. That's $220,000 worth of beams. We can't just shut it down for 4 days." "Sorry," I said. "Without the temperature optimization data, I can't diagnose the issue." Manufacturer says, "Shut it down." "What about your thermal analysis system?" "The one you built, that system rolls up to Ivy now?" I said, "You'll need to check with her." Mason went to Ivy. Ivy had no idea what thermal analysis was, she called me. "Barrett, what's this about thermal analysis?" "It's part of the temperature optimization system," I said. "The one that's outside my job description now." "But can't you just run it this once?" "We're talking about a lot of money here. I'd need authorization to work outside my job description," I said. "And I'd need to discuss updating my role scope with HR and the union rep." There was a long pause. "Fine, just fix the furnace today. We'll sort out the details later." I didn't fix the furnace. Furnace 2 stayed down for 4 days. The Henderson Steel order was delayed by a week. Here's the thing about the Henderson contract. They weren't just any customer. They were building steel framework for a new children's hospital in Cleveland, and they were working under tight construction deadlines. Every day of delay pushed back the entire construction schedule. Every week of delay potentially meant sick kids who wouldn't get access to new medical facilities. But that wasn't in my job description either. That Friday, I got an email from Adelaide Foster, the VP of Operations. Subject line, "Furnace 2 production delay, urgent response needed." I replied, "This falls outside my current role scope. Please coordinate with Ivy Walsh for system access authorization." That was Friday. On Monday, October 21st, things started getting more interesting. Our rolling mill started showing signs of pressure irregularity. The steel quality was dropping, and the system was throwing intermittent hydraulic warnings. I knew exactly what it was. The hydraulic system needed recalibration. Probably needed about 4 hours of adjustment, but the pressure monitoring system needed to be cross-referenced with the temperature data. Normally, I'd check the hydraulic logs against my optimization schedule, cross-reference with the thermal readings, and either adjust the pressure settings or order replacement components. Takes about 20 minutes, costs maybe $75 in hydraulic fluid adjustments. Instead, I called the service company. "We've got pressure irregularity and hydraulic warnings," I told them. "Could be the hydraulic system." They said, "We'll need to send a field engineer to diagnose. Cost will be 4,200 plus parts, and we can have someone there Thursday." "Okay," I said. The mill stayed down for 3 days. We missed delivery on $115,000 worth of precision steel components. 3 different customers called asking about their orders. One of them was a bridge construction company that needed replacement beams for a highway project, but coordinating with customers wasn't in my job description. On Wednesday, October 23rd, our OSHA safety system started throwing alerts. Not because anything was wrong, but because I'd set up automated reminders for documentation updates. The system needed operator validation every 30 days to maintain safety certification. It's a simple process, really. You go through each production line, Verify that the safety documentation matches the manufacturing records and digitally sign off on the compliance status. Takes about 20 minutes if you know what you're looking for. I'd been doing it automatically for so long that I barely thought about it, but it wasn't actually in my job description. Safety documentation was, but OSHA compliance validation was a separate process that I'd built and maintained on my own initiative. So I generated a work order for system maintenance outside job scope and sent it to Ivy. Ivy didn't know what OSHA validation meant. She forwarded it to Adelaide Foster, our VP of Operations. Adelaide forwarded it to Sage in HR. Sage sent it back to me with a note. Please handle routine system maintenance, I replied. OSHA compliance documentation is outside my current job description. Please coordinate with Ivy Walsh for role clarification and system access authorization. The validation didn't get updated. Now, here's something important about OSHA regulations. They don't care about your internal company politics. They don't care about role optimization or lean manufacturing principles. They care about one thing. Can you prove that every steel beam that left your facility was manufactured according to approved safety specifications? If you can't prove that, you lose your OSHA certification. If you lose your OSHA certification, you can't manufacture steel products. If you can't manufacture steel products, you shut down. The compliance audit happens automatically every month. On Friday, October 25th, at exactly 12:01 p.m., our internal safety system ran its monthly check. It found 31 validation items that hadn't been updated in 35 days. The system immediately flagged us as non-compliant and sent automated notifications to OSHA, our insurance carrier, and all of our major customers. By 2:30 p.m., we had 4 customers on the phone asking about our safety status. By 4 p.m., our insurance carrier was asking for documentation. By 4:45 p.m., we had received an automated email from OSHA scheduling a surprise inspection for the following week. The plant was now 72 hours away from losing safety certification for our steel production. Once you lose that certification, it takes a minimum of 8 months to get it back, assuming you can demonstrate that you fixed whatever caused the compliance failure. 8 months without safety certification meant shutting down 80% of our production. It meant laying off 240 people. It meant breaching contracts worth $22 million. It meant quite possibly the end of Ironworks steel manufacturing. At 2:47 p.m., I got a calendar invite. Emergency meeting operational continuity scheduled for 4 p.m. attendees. Me, Ivy, Adelaide, Sage, and 2 people I'd never seen before. I printed out a copy of my key technical personnel agreement and stuck it in my pocket. Then I walked downstairs to the break room and got a cup of coffee. Mason Clark was there looking stressed. "Barrett," he said, "what the hell is happening? Half our equipment is down. Customers are calling every hour. And now I'm hearing we might lose our OSHA certification." I took a sip of my coffee. "I'm just following my job description, Mason, like Ivy asked me to." Mason stared at me for a long moment. Then he started to smile. "You magnificent bastard. You're doing exactly what they told you to do. That's right. How long do you think it'll take them to figure it out?" I checked my watch about an hour and 13 minutes. I showed up at 3:58 p.m. Ivy was already there, looking like she hadn't slept. Adelaide was next to her, typing furiously on her laptop. Sage was there with a different folder this time, and the 2 strangers turned out to be Nova Pierce from the Pierce family ownership and a guy named Reed Harrison, who was apparently company legal counsel. This was no longer a department meeting. This was a legal situation. Nova Pierce was in her early 60s, gray hair, sharp eyes, and the kind of presence that comes from making difficult decisions for 40 years. Her grandfather had founded Ironworks in 1981, and she'd been running it since her father stepped down in 2005. She didn't look happy. Ivy started, her voice tight. "Barrett, we need to talk about what's been happening this week." "Okay," I said. "Furnace 2 has been down for 8 days. The rolling mill failed for 3 days. We're facing OSHA safety issues, and every time we ask you to help, you say it's not your job." "That's correct," I said. "You told me to stick to my job description. I'm sticking to my job description." Adelaide leaned forward. "Barrett, you know these systems, you built them. We need you to maintain them. I understand," I said. But on October 15th, Ivy told me to focus on my core responsibilities and transition ownership of those systems to other people. I'm just following instructions. Rid, the lawyer, opened a briefcase. Mr. Stone, are you refusing to perform work that's critical to the company's operations? No, I said. I'm performing all the work outlined in my job description. If the company wants me to do additional work, we should probably update my job description and discuss compensation. Nova Pierce was watching me carefully. She hadn't said anything yet, but I could see her putting the pieces together. Ivy took a deep breath. Okay, fine. What would it take for you to just keep doing what you've been doing until we figure this out? I pulled my toolbox over and opened the side compartment. The compartment where I'd kept that union contract addendum for 6 years. I opened it and slid the document across the table. Before we talk about that, I said, I think you should read this. Ivy picked it up. What is this? Key Technical Personnel Agreement signed in 2019 by me, Jasper Turner, and Nova Pierce. It's filed with the union contract documentation under technical risk mitigation. Nova's eyes widened slightly. She remembered now. Oh, she said quietly. Ivy scanned the document. I watched her face change. Confusion, then realization, then something close to panic. She handed it to Reed. Reed read it, frowned, and read it again. Is this enforceable? Ivy asked. Reed looked at Nova. Did ownership actually approve this? Nova nodded slowly. Yes. Jasper brought it to us as a risk mitigation measure. Barrett had built several critical systems, and we were concerned about technical dependency. The agreement was meant to protect both the company and Barrett's contributions. I remember the board discussion. She continued. Jasper said, if Barrett walks out the door, we lose millions of dollars worth of institutional knowledge. This protects everyone. Ivy's voice was getting strained. So you're saying we can't use the systems he built? According to this, Reed said, if the company wants to transfer ownership or modify these systems without Mr. Stone's consent, he can either demand fair compensation or revoke usage rights entirely. Adelaide had gone pale. Barrett, the temperature optimization system alone, we run it on 8 furnaces. Without that, we're back to manual monitoring. That's hundreds of thousands in fuel waste and downtime costs. The safety system, Nova added, if we lose OSHA certification, we're looking at $22 million in breached contracts and potential layoffs for 240 people. I know, I said. I built those systems to prevent exactly these kinds of problems. Ivy was starting to sweat. How much, she asked. What do you want? I'd done the math over the weekend, and I'd talked to Mason Clark, who'd talked to some of the other long-term employees. The union guys were solidly behind me. They'd watched me get passed over for promotions while doing the work of 3 people. They'd seen consultants come and go, each one trying to fix things that weren't broken. The temperature optimization system saved approximately $220,000 per year in avoided fuel waste and downtime. The safety system saved us about $140,000 annually in OSHA prep costs and avoided violations. The supplier relationships and custom equipment modifications saved another $95,000 per year. Total annual value, $455,000. Over the 6 years I'd been running these systems, that was over $2.7 million in documented savings. I'll transfer technical ownership of the temperature optimization system, safety tracking and equipment modifications for $675,000, I said, paid out over 18 months. Plus, I want my role reclassified to Senior Safety Operations Director, reporting directly to Adelaide at $125,000 base with a 15% annual bonus target. And I want final approval authority on any furnace decisions that affect systems I've built. The room went completely silent. Ivy looked at Reed. Reed looked at Nova. Nova looked at me. That's a lot of money, Ivy said. No. Nova said firmly. It's fair market value. Probably under market considering the cost of rebuilding these systems from scratch, the lost production time, and the safety risks. We could just build new systems, Ivy said. But her voice lacked conviction. You could, I agreed. How long do you think that would take? 10 months, a year. How much production do you lose in the meantime? What happens to your OSHA certification? What about the Henderson Steel contract and the bridge components that keep traffic moving? Adelaide closed her eyes. The OSHA inspection is scheduled for Monday. If we fail, we lose certification immediately. Nova stood up. I need to make some calls to the other family members. Ivy, Adelaide, let's meet tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Barrett. Can you keep the critical systems running for 24 hours while we sort this out? If I'm being compensated for work outside my job description, yes, we'll pay you consulting rate $135 an hour. effective immediately for any work on systems outside your standard duties. I nodded. That works. She looked at Ivy. Fix the safety system, get Furnace 2 running, do whatever he tells you to do. Then she walked out, followed by Reed and Adelaide. Sage gathered her materials and left without saying a word. Ivy sat there for a moment, staring at the table. Finally, she looked up at me. I don't understand, she said. Why didn't you just tell me about this agreement from the beginning? You didn't ask, I said. You told me to stick to my job description. But people could have been hurt. The Henderson contract, the OSHA certification, all those jobs. Yes, I said. That's what happens when you optimize away the people who actually understand how things work. I stood up and walked toward the door. Then I stopped and turned back. Ivy, you're not a bad person, but you made the mistake of thinking that just because you couldn't see the value in something, it didn't have value. Steel manufacturing isn't like consulting. You can't just reorganize it on paper and expect it to work better. She didn't respond. They met the next morning without me. I found out later from Adelaide that Nova had called an emergency family meeting and presented them with the situation. The choice was simple. Pay me what I was asking or watch the company potentially collapse. The Pierce family took 15 minutes to decide. At 11:15 a.m. on Saturday, October 26th, I got an email from Sage in HR. Subject line, updated position offer, Senior Safety Operations Director. The offer was everything I'd asked for, $675,000 paid out at $37,500 per month for 18 months. Base salary of $125,000 and 15% bonus target. New title, Senior Safety Operations Director. Direct report to Adelaide Foster. Final approval on furnace decisions. There was also a clause I hadn't asked for in recognition of Mr. Stone's contributions to Ironworks Steel Manufacturing's operational excellence. The company agrees to issue 6,000 stock options at current valuation, vesting immediately. I signed it on Monday, October 28th at 9 a.m. in Sage's office. Nova was there, Adelaide was there, Ivy was not. The first payment, $37,500, hit my account on November 15th. I was sitting at my desk when I got the bank notification. I just stared at it for a long time. Ivy's contract was terminated 2 weeks later. McKinsey reassigned her to renewable energy consulting. On her last day, she stopped by my desk. For what it's worth, she said, I learned something. What's that? That efficiency isn't just about organizing the work, it's about understanding the work. I nodded. That's a start. 18 months later, the Pierce family sold Ironworks to a larger steel manufacturing company for $118 million. My stock options were worth $48,000. Today, I'm still at Ironworks. My title is Senior Safety Operations Director. I manage a team of 6 technicians, including Felix Rivers, who turned out to be a good guy and a quick learner. We're integrating our systems with the parent company's operations, and they actually value the institutional knowledge we bring. The $675,000 finished getting paid in April 2026. Most of it went into my retirement fund, but I also bought a small cabin outside Pittsburgh. 8 acres, a workshop, and peace and quiet, where I can work on old cars and remember what it feels like to fix something with my hands. Sometimes the best revenge is just giving people exactly what they ask for. And sometimes, if you're patient enough and you understand the systems better than anyone else, it turns out better than you ever imagined. The machinery doesn't care about your MBA when the temperature hits critical, but it listens to the guy who's been hearing its heartbeat for 23 years. Sometimes the loudest voice in the room isn't the smartest one, it's just the one that hasn't learned to listen to the machines yet.
I'm freezing. I'm bleeding. Slowly fading away. But don't worry, I'm fine. The cold has settled in my heartbeat, like winter living in my veins. Every breath feels numb and fragile. Every smile just hides the pain. I'm breaking quietly in silence, falling slow without a sound. Yet I keep saying I'm okay, while my world burns to the ground. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. Maybe pain just learned to live here. Maybe sorrow feels like home. So I wear my wounds like armor and survive them all alone. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. If you ever see me smiling, no, it's just my last defense. 'Cause sometimes love means hiding how much you're suffering. No, I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. It's okay.
Some days feel off, like I'm standing but still falling. A little pain, a little tired, and no one to tell it all to.
There are days that feel unsteady, like I'm drifting out of place. Every step just feels so heavy, with a smile I have to fake. A little hurt I keep inside me, a little weight I always hide, and 1,000 quiet worries I've been holding deep inside. There's no one here to tell it to, no one who would understand. So I carry all these feelings like they're slipping through my hands. A little broken, little lost, trying hard to just get through. All these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you. I keep walking through the silence like it's all I've ever known. Every crowded room reminds me how it feels to be alone. There's no one here to tell it to, no one who would understand. So I carry all these feelings like they're slipping through my hands. A little broken, little lost, trying hard to just get through. All these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you. Maybe one day I'll be stronger, maybe I'll learn how to speak, but for now I keep it buried in the parts of me too weak. There's no one here to tell it to, get through all these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you.